What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring you incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a wife, a mother, and the author of the best-selling book, Gasping for Air, The Stranglehold of Narcissistic Abuse. Please welcome Deanna Diaz. Deanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
That's quite the topic.
Yes, it's a lot.
It's a lot for anyone that experiences that.
Yes.
So I have a story why you wrote
okay.
And you enlighten us or share with us what you went through and why you decided to write a book about it.
Well, what I went through was horrific, but it was my everyday normal. So I didn't even realize. I would have never even called it abuse, honestly, which was ironic because I was abused as a child. I was raised by a mother who didn't want me and a stepfather who wanted me even less. So I knew what abuse was. I was physically abused. I was verbally, emotional. I was tormented in my childhood. Couldn't wait to get out of that house. And I did. And I was like, nobody's ever going to treat me like that again, ever, ever, ever. And what did I do? I didn't realize at that time that I was a codependent, people-pleasing. Apparently, I'd internalized all of these, all of the verbal abuse, which the physical abuse, definitely complemented in a lovely way. The idea that I was undeserving and unworthy. I didn't even love myself. I didn't know where I fit into this world. I struggled with even wondering why I was even here. So I fell for, it was literally like serving me up on a silver platter to a narcissist, because narcissists, of course, like servitude and praise and admiration, and everything's about them. And I was like that little puppy dog, like shaking, like, I'll do anything for a treat. I'll do anything, anything, anything. And so there we were. And it felt wrong from the start. I didn't like him the first time I met him. I liked him even less the second time I met him. Still went along. Here we are in our college years. We do stupid things. We sleep with the wrong people. We, carrying on with the same people. And 25 years later, I was like, how did I get from point A to point B where this man wants me dead, and we're now in domestic violence situations with guns and knives and police? So,
oh my gosh,
it's not who I am. Like, what happened here? And in the midst of all this, I'd gotten very sick. Like I knew something was wrong with me physically, because I had like 24 symptoms that played musical chairs with me every day. But around 2018 to 2019, I started going to doctors. And some of my doctors were gaslighting me, saying, oh, you're hypersensitive, or you're just having anxiety and think something's wrong with you. Well, guess what? By the end of 2019, I had dwindled down to 93 pounds. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't even tear toilet paper off the roll to wipe myself. Okay. And I am 44 years old at that point, 43, 44, somewhere around there. I should be able to take care of myself. I coached cross country. I ran 5 miles every day. I ate healthy.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Well, what was wrong with me was that everybody in my life was gaslighting me. I'd endured 4 decades plus of abuse. It finally took 2 doctors who actually gave a crap about me to get me with Mayo Clinic. They discovered that I'd been living under so much stress for so long, that I had so much cortisol, which is a stress hormone, running through my body, that my body thought it had to eradicate something like a cancer or a virus. So my white blood cells actually killed themselves off to the point where I was autoimmune. All these random symptoms nobody could figure out were autoimmune flares. And I developed this rare lung syndrome that the doctor said is like having COPD and fibromyalgia. However, it's very common in abuse victims because of the cause of cortisol, because of living under so much stress. So, I ended up with a backpack oxygen machine that I needed to wear, with the mask on my face every day. So it was really disconcerting, to say the least, to find out that that old cliche that stress can kill you really is true. I had no idea, but it was at that point that my life changed, because being raised by a narcissist and a mother who looked the other way, and then, being married to a narcissist that I spent 25 years with, everything had been dictated to me.
Yeah.
From what I should wear, what I should say, what I could read, what music I could listen to, what to eat, everything.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever said, Dana, what do you want?
Yeah.
So it took my doctor telling me, you're sick, your body is shutting down, all of your organ systems are at minimal base survival rates, your body's doing everything it can just to breathe and keep your heart beating. You got to make a change.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget laying there the one night, and I just kind of asked myself, I said, what do I want? Because this isn't it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to die for a man that wants me dead, that I don't even want to be with anymore, and for a life that isn't even mine.
Yeah.
And that's when I answered myself. I knew what I wanted. I went to school for journalism. I had wanted to be a writer. I studied psychology because I actually wanted to find a way to help other victims of abuse, because I was so enraged by my own situation as a child, because DCFS, Child Services, didn't do a damn thing for me. I wanted to travel. I wanted to, I don't know, be married, but to somebody who actually even liked me and wanted me to be alive. I mean, minor details, but I didn't feel like I was asking for much. Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that is the night that my life changed, because just asking myself that one question, what do I want? And knowing what I wanted, I began to act in accordance. Like, you start to make small baby steps once your mind changes, because I saw what I wanted. I saw what I really wanted to live, a life that was mine, a life that was true and authentic to who I was. And what I had done, what I didn't realize, was I had allowed other people to determine my life for me. And so I was the one that put that hypothetical collar and leash on myself and bound me to my circumstances. So once I unclicked that leash off of my neck and was like, you know what, Dana, I'm giving you permission. I'm giving permission to be who you really are and to live the life you want to live. And can I just tell you what an amazing freedom that is, not just in your thought and in moving forward, but I want people to understand, this was 3 years ago that I finally divorced my ex. 3 years.
Wow.
Not long.
No.
And it got worse.
Not after all that. Not after all that time.
Not after all that time.
And him believing he has a hold on you.
And the thing was, he became most violent after the divorce. I mean, certainly I hope everyone knows that, the divorce is just a piece of paper that divides your financial assets. I wish it ended the relationship, but it got most violent after, because, narcissists can't take the offense to their ego that not only have you divorced them, but now you're moving on with somebody else. Yeah, I moved on with somebody else because I'd been done with that relationship for over 15 years. I was done and out. But the thing is, in that 3 years, it didn't even take the full 3 years. Within about 6 months of everything being done and over, my physical health, I gained my weight back.
Good.
I don't even know the last time I used my oxygen machine to breathe. I don't have the panic attacks. I don't have all these symptoms.
Yeah.
I used to have literally 24 symptoms that randomly would play with me every day. I don't have them anymore. It's because I'm not living in that toxic situation, because people think toxicity is, use organic chemicals to clean your house. Yeah, I agree.
That's part of it. That's environmental, but there are other toxic things that can happen.
But putting toxic people and putting yourself in toxic situations absolutely, I think, could cause worse damage to you, because I had allowed somebody to basically diminish who I was and diminish my soul. I was dead inside at that point. I was like a Stepford wife, I said in my book. Like, I was trying to do and say, all the things that were within the bounds of, acceptance according to him. And it wasn't who I was,
Yeah.
and when you can live, like when you can stand on your own 2 feet and be like, this is who I am. And not only am I giving myself permission to be who I am,
Yeah.
but to also be okay with who I am. And I'm not going to say, I don't, this is why I love your podcast. I do not do labels.
Yeah.
I am not going to stand here and say, I am broken. I am damaged. I hate that verbiage. People need to stop calling themselves things like that.
Yep.
Because you know what you're doing then? You're taking the power of those people who put those ideas in your head or did those things to you, and you're giving them that same control over your life that I did when I allowed them to bind me to those circumstances. And I am no more a victim than I am broken or damaged or any of that crap. I am Dana. I am me. And I am worthy and I am deserving. And I can say that now.
Yeah.
Because I realize it.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, is that we're in those circumstances with people around us telling us that who we are and letting them determine who we are.
Yeah.
And you just can't let them do that. You have to just, I always ask everybody, just ask yourself that one question: what do I want?
Yeah.
Because it will literally change your life.
I wonder how many lives you're going to change by sharing the story today with me, because I think once you experience narcissistic, like if you come from a narcissistic home, like whether your mother or father was like that, you tend to repeat that cycle. Because I know myself, I've been in narcissistic relationships where they manipulate you and try to twist your brain upside down just to control every little thing that you do. And their little bit of love, you feel like you have to beg for, and you like, oh, how can I earn it? You really shouldn't have to earn someone's love. They should be giving it to you because they love you.
Exactly. But that is exactly it. I mean, I've always said it's like being a dog, because you have to give paw to get a treat. You got to roll over to get a treat. And if you don't do it, then you're a bad dog.
Yeah.
And then there's consequences. Yeah. And that's how it was.
Yeah.
And don't think they don't treat animals that way. It's almost worse. It almost made me feel worse to see how my stepfather and my ex treated animals. It was disgusting and it hurt me so bad inside. But they don't have any concept of what's right and wrong. All they can think about is themselves and what they're gaining, in feeling that power in that moment and feeling that control and knowing that they can control the things and the people around them. And that's what their ego needs. But the problem is they have no consideration, no remorse. And we stay, especially my ex was a covert narcissist. So the covert narcissist is one of these that, I mean, boy, when he loved me, it was good. I felt it and I believed it.
Right.
But when it's bad, you would think a person would leave if they had a crowbar swung at their head like I did, or if they had a prescription drug situation where they were drugged in the bathroom and left there to die with the door closed. But guess what? My eyes opened. And all the other things, all the things that were thrown and damaged and said. And why did I leave? Why didn't I leave? Because I had that hope. I clung to the idea that, well, he could be this good person.
Yeah.
He's capable of it. So if he's capable of it, that means it's a choice. But he kept putting everything back on me. They always blame somebody else especially for their misbehavior, because they're great. They're wonderful people. It's you. You're the one that provoked it. You're the one that's the problem. You're the one that just enrages them, and they can't help but treat you that way because you deserve to be treated that way. And I internalized that too, just like I internalized all the crap my stepfather said. I mean, I should have known there was something wrong at the point in my marriage when I'm Googling how to be a good wife, because I thought I just apparently wasn't a good wife. And that doesn't even count the 2 times he left me notes. He actually left me lists twice in our marriage, how to be a good wife. And I still have one of them, and one of them is in the book if anyone's interested. I still have it, though, and what made me sad when I was referencing the one that I kept for the book, I saw that I had actually checked off some of the things that I was supposed to do to be a good wife. I was so invested in trying to, I don't know if I was trying to change him or just provoke the better side of him or just change our dynamic, because nobody gets married to get divorced. You're invested. You know what, you want it to work. But here I was being how to be a good wife, and I'm checking this off like a list of chores or like a grocery list. That's disgusting to me that I let somebody tell me how to be.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to do
it's like you're a slave.
Exactly. But that's what it felt like being with him. And I think that's what a lot of them do. I always say there's like these unspoken rules. I mean, I had those rules written out for me. And he reminded me every time I didn't do something to his liking, I was told, I was corrected. But there's a lot of unspoken rules. But the thing about narcissists, and this is where they kind of screw with your mind, you never know what's what, because I thought I would be following a rule just to be told that I was breaking a rule. Well, I thought you liked it when I did this, or you wanted me to do this way. Well, now I don't. So it was like he could make up the rules as we went, change the rules as we went based on the present moment. And it's so confusing because you don't know if you're coming or going. I don't even know if they know if they're coming or going.
But there should not be rules in a marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not playing a game here. We're not going to work clocking in and out. This is like we're supposed to have a mutual love and respect for one another, and that like those things you went through are unacceptable, like completely unacceptable.
But we repeat our cycles because when we know this as children and we grow up in this,
It's
even
familiar.
when we know it's wrong, it's familiar.
Yeah.
Like I've had people, I remember in high school, I actually remember his name and everything, this really nice boy that asked me out. I had the biggest crush on him. I mean, he was adorable. He was, he was all these wonderful things. I wanted to go out with him so badly, but I told him no. You know why? Because he was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, but I've actually read and done a little research. Your body and your mind somehow become addicted to the chaos and the mistreatment, just the same way as you can get addicted to cigarettes or, any kind of drugs or anything else. So there is something, it's not soothing, but there is something about being in familiar situations, because I think especially when you come from toxic situations, we are hyper vigilant. We are always kind of serving people in situations to determine if there's any threats, feeling the vibes, like what's the energy here, because we're kind of like, always on edge. Like I always say, it's like the cats when their ears are up and they walk in a room and they're looking around, kind of let me figure this out before. That's how we get in every situation. But when there's something unfamiliar, the unfamiliar, even to any person, is the unknown is scary. Yeah. And so, nice boy, I could have probably had a lovely date with him and gone on to, I just imagine, little blonde children running around and all those things, but it would have probably been lovely. Yeah. But it was unfamiliar. That is scary to me because I didn't know what to do with it. I only knew how to deal with, the jerks, the bad boys. We all like the bad boys, but we don't want one that's so bad that it destroys who we are. And that's unfortunately what I ended up with.
So does he know you wrote a book about him?
I am not sure. So this person, I was about to call him a name, but we'll keep that to myself. Yeah. He purposely moved 7 miles away from where I am now living.
So do you have to see him often?
I have to pass by his home all the time because it's on a main road and there's no avoiding it where we are. So obviously we're still running in many of the same circles. We do have a son who's 20 years old, but even my son He's never asked me the name of the book. He asked me what the book was about once, and I told him it was about dysfunctional and toxic relationships, and he laughed at me and said, "You're divorced. Who are you to talk about relationships?" And I said, "Well, you have to fail to learn, buddy. And believe me, your dad was a lesson." I learned a lot there. So I don't know. But what I will say is that I'm waiting every day for people who've been in situations where, and again, again, read the book, but he put in writing, and we have witness testimony in court that he had told people he planned to kill me.
Oh my Lord. That's okay.
So to put out a book was a very bold move on my part. But the reason that I did it was because when I was about to divorce him, I was about to file for divorce, the COVID pandemic hit.
Ugh.
And so we went under the shelter in place, I believe a week or two after I talked to an attorney. And so the courts were shut down, and I'm locked in the house with this man who wants me dead. So I moved to my basement. I avoided him at all costs, but I was keeping a notebook of all the things that were happening, being said. He was emailing me, texting me. He found any way he could to get to me. But I was keeping a record because I honestly thought he's going to make something look like an accident. Something's going to happen. I needed to know that people needed to look at him because it would have been him. So I kept this notebook, and then as COVID went along, I kind of realized, now that I was kind of on the he didn't like me using computers. He didn't like me reading. I didn't even have a smartphone. Okay.
Girl.
Because he did not want me having outside influence.
Yep.
That would get me to leave him, or God forbid if I, had some sense and figured a way out and to be independent of him in any way. But regardless, once I did stop, following his rules, and I was in the basement with my computer and all this, I'm realizing, oh my gosh, like people are going through this, and I don't think people understand the physical aspect that here I am sitting down in my basement with my oxygen machine, looking this stuff up. And I'm like, people need to know the reality of this because I'm out at my son's, his games, his athletic events and at school events. I'm bringing cupcakes and smiling like everyone's okay. No, nothing was okay. And even the few people that kind of sensed something was off were like, "Are you okay, Dana? Is everything okay?" Everything's great. Everything's wonderful.
What are you going to say? Like it's
you can't expose your abusers.
Yeah, you're trapped.
And they don't believe you anyway, because I didn't even realize the extent. But, they always say, "Oh, you're crazy." That's like their MO. I swear, every one of them. But I didn't realize the extent to which my ex had created this narrative about my mental instability in public. And it was horrifying when I found out how many people. But do you know, this is the other thing when we talk about labels, is that at one point in our marriage, he had me so convinced that I was bipolar that I went to a psychiatrist thinking, oh my gosh, we have a young child and I'm in his care and there's something wrong with me. I better get help. That I came home with 2 prescriptions for bipolar disorder. And you want to know the funny thing? Once I was divorced and out of that situation, I was fine. And even my psychiatrist was like, "Well, let's take the medication down half." And then I did fine on half, and and he's like, "I don't think you were ever bipolar at all. I think you were just married to," we won't say the A word on your podcast, but we laugh about it now, but it's not funny when somebody can literally brainwash you to the point where you're giving the right answers in a psychiatrist office to where they prescribe you medication that you never needed for 17 years.
I had one like that when I was like very young. I tried the medication. I was like, I don't feel good on this stuff, and I stopped.
No,
I'm like, no, I'm fine. I think it's you.
And good for you, because you know what the thing is, and we discovered this, and my doctor agreed. I think a lot of the reason, because so many people say, "Why did you stay? Why did you stay?" There's a million reasons why you
Yeah,
stay. It's not
very
as
hard.
easy as just walking out. But I think a lot of the reason why I stayed was because the medications I was on were so numbing
Yeah,
that even my closest, I'll never forget one day when one of my closest friends said, "You're very cold.
yeah,
Like, I don't even know if you've cried." Like,
yeah.
and it was so weird to me because I'm like, no, I'm very my mother always used to accuse me of being so sensitive, and all I did was cry, you know. And I was like, but I'm not cold. That's not who I am at all. I'm all warm and fuzzy, but those medications numbed me to where I didn't feel. I was that Stepford wife. I was that zombie that just went through the motions every day. So like all the stuff he was saying and doing just like
Yeah.
didn't phase me as much as they should have. But once we started weaning off, like I apologize. I'm remarried now to a longtime friend because otherwise, believe me, I would never be with anybody ever again. But God love my husband now. I sometimes apologize because I'm like, now that I'm, off of medications and whatever, I'm doing great, but I feel everything. And I think I'm like making up for, like, I cry at the drop of a dime at almost anything. And it is okay. And I feel if I'm sad, I'm sad. And if I'm happy, I'm happy, but I'm not bipolar. And even if I was, who the hell cares? I'm still me, and that's part of who I am and what makes me unique and special. But it's just interesting to me that being on those medications for 17 years, I wonder what it
Yikes.
would have been like if I hadn't been, and how much sooner I might have gotten out.
Yeah. Well, you are out now and you've got an
Yes.
incredible book. Where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about purchasing your book?
Absolutely. I tell everybody just go to my website, danasdiaz.com. You can find the link for the book there. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get updates on the next two books in the series because I have a prequel and a sequel coming out. If anyone's interested, I also have a blog on there and links to Facebook and Instagram. And I do ask for people to reach out to me, share their stories if they're comfortable. Follow me. I post content every single day, including podcasts like this one that will be on there as well as on the website. So
Excellent. You guys can put those links in the show notes. So go purchase the book and go reach out to Dana. If you or anybody you know is in a narcissistic, abusive relationship, they can go talk to her. It'll be a safe space. Dana, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
listen to your gut. If you are ever in any situation, romantically, family wise, coworker, friend, and you are feeling off about somebody or somebody has given you just any bad feeling, even if you have no reason, follow your gut. You click with some people and not others. Stay with the ones you click with.
Amen to that. Yes, follow your gut. Simple but true. Dana, thank you so much for the courage to speak about something so hard and so terrorizing in a lot of ways, and not something easy to get out of. So God bless, and so happy to see that you're doing okay and you are now living your best life.
I am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.